Alright folks, I want to do a quick video just showing you how to update the firmware on your Positive Grid Spark 40. First, just go to Google and Google Positive Grid, and you'll see one of the first options that comes up has firmware in it. Go ahead and select that, and you can usually just guarantee that this first link here, Update for Spark, will contain the firmware that you need. So if we take a look here, you can see we got some instructions. Turn on your Spark and plug it in. Make sure you're plugged into a USB port on your PC. That's very important. And then next, we're going to go ahead and download the install media. And it says scroll down to find the media here, and a bunch of information about the firmware. So we're just going to keep scrolling down. And at the bottom, you'll see these two files here. We have one for Mac and one for Windows. We want the Windows one. We're on a Windows PC. So we go ahead and download that, and it will kick off the download. That will usually download it to your downloads folder by default, but if you have that set up to point to a different folder, then that'll be on you to understand where that's downloading. But usually just going to the downloads folder will show you that newly downloaded file. In Firefox, you can click this little arrow up here. So it was at this point that I noticed that the screen capture software that I used didn't capture the application actually happening. So I'm just going to cut to some camera footage of this update happening. Alright, since my screen capture software didn't capture the rest, here we go. I'm going to fire off the Spark Firmware Updater. I like to right click it and run it as an administrator, and when you get this message, just click yes. Right now I am connected to the Spark amp via USB, and you can see that it automatically detected it for me, but it might not. You might actually have to connect it, but in most cases it'll auto detect. So you'll see some information about the product and then the check to update. By the way, this application is called the Spark Firmware Updater, so this is the tool that does the updating of the firmware. So this is what you've downloaded, this is what I just fired off, and by clicking check to update, it will check for updates and update the firmware on the Spark device via the USB cable. This process can take a couple minutes depending on how out of date your firmware is. For me, it's about 25 seconds. Our firmware is up to date and we're good to go. You can close down your application and you can be rest assured that your Spark device is up to date.